Welcome to Volume 11 RockTalk Podcast, brought to you by Volume 11 Music. Your hosts, Rich Hoffa, Rick Lawhorn, and Mark Dunn. RockTalk, Volume 11 Music.
Hey everyone, and you're here at Volume 11 Music's RockTalk Podcast. I'm Rich.
Rick Lawhorn.
Mark Dunn.
Yeah, and last week we talked about crazy things that happened, bad stuff that happened, funny stuff that happened. And this week we're going to talk about what you can do to prepare yourself for a better gig, a good gig.
Consistently.
Consistently.
Yes.
And since these guys do most of the gigs nowadays, I'll let you guys start it off. Mark, you want to hit it off?
I mean, one of the things that I find to be necessary is to not have to think about, do I have everything when I'm going to a gig?
Yeah.
So I do solo acoustic shows and I do, full band shows, which obviously are going to be two different sets of things. Mm-hmm. So with my solo acoustic, I've got, kind of everything just packaged together.
Yeah.
Mixer with the cables. I've got a bag of spare stuff. Always have to have a bag of spare cables. Mm-hmm. If you can have a duplicate of everything in a that would be the ideal situation, but obviously that's cumbersome to have two PAs to carry around. But you want to have redundancy, So like if my PA went for my solo acoustic ever crapped out on me, I could just turn the monitor around, that kind of thing. But having it ready to go is really just one of those things where just the ease of mind. It's almost like making your bed in the morning. Even if your room's messy, if your bed's made, it's not really messy. Right. So just having it together in a spot all the time. And for my electric gigs, same deal. I mean, I like to experiment with, but Rick and I get to play music for a living, so we get to play our gear kind of probably more than the person that's not playing every.
Right.
But it's one of those things where I just don't ever want to open up my road cases and have something not be there.
Yeah.
And also checking, the strings on the guitar, because we were talking about breaking strings in another episode. I used to change my strings for every show, which is a lot of strings. I was heavier handed, but one of the things that I would freak out about is any kind of equipment failure and also breaking a string while you're playing. Even if you've got a backup guitar or five. But I used to change them for every show. I think I was a lot heavier handed back then. But I think if you can prevent anything bad if you can do everything to prevent a negative thing from occurring at your show, during your show, then that's the first step in being a professional live performer, is making sure that you're just squared away.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to piggyback a little bit on some of Mark's comments. I fully agree. Great commentary. After the string breaking story that we did share in the last episode, so I always bring multiple, a lot of times 3 guitars to a gig. You just never know. Here in Central Virginia, when we have our summertime, we have so much humidity, so strings are just either going out of tune or they're breaking. I mean, it's always a fight, I'm so glad that in recent years, a lot of the companies are putting out these better strings that we carry here. Some of them seem to fight and combat the humidity a little bit better. So always extra strings, extra guitars, like Mark said, the extra cables.
Extra hair care products.
Yeah, that's right. Conditioner.
Aquanet.
Yeah, Aquanet. Yeah, that was the proud sponsor of the 80s there.
Our priorities of gig necessities have changed over the years.
That's right.
The extra strings, I'm always bringing that because you break them, you got to be ready to roll. Also, too, these outdoor events that we always get, I've learned this over the years, a lot of water, a lot of Gatorade and electrolytes. I remember when I was younger hearing other people talking about that. I do whatever I want. I don't need that stuff. But it does make a difference. You're out there playing and it's 92 degrees and the heat index, it's like 104,
Yeah.
So, lots of water, lots of Gatorade. You're chugging that to try to maintain the elements. Different amps. Sometimes I'll bring 2 amps. Nowadays I'm using tube amps. So if one tube goes bad,
I bring 3.
And do you really? 3?
I bring 2 tube amps and then My backup to the backup is my katana.
How many gigs have you had where like a tube amp went on the gig where it just said bye bye?
Maybe one or two.
Yeah,
I've always had a backup.
Yeah, I've had maybe one or two, but I've had a backup and then I was able to get through the gig.
Yeah. Redundancy is necessary. I mean, that's my recurring nightmare. Like you don't know your locker combination in high school and it's the last day, or having a show and not being able to complete the show because my amp went out and I didn't. So three is kind of crazy, but I mean, if you can play the gig, you can play the gig.
Yeah. And that's the goal, to be able to get through that gig. And a lot of times we're doing 4-hour shows, so you get in an hour and a half and everything's great, and then when it's not great, it's not great, and there's an issue. And it's like, all right, now we're almost at the 2-hour mark, but we got another 2 hours to go. And then, like I said, that extra amp or that extra cable or that extra guitar, those things might have to come into effect.
Oh yeah.
How about with the drum world?
Well, drum stuff, it's like for me, I was always afraid. I mean, sticks are a given, right? And maybe a head. Of course, duct tape is always in your arsenal. I don't care if you're a sound man, whatever your job is. Duct tape will fix anything.
Duct tape and WD-40.
Yeah, duct tape
and MacGyver.
But you could get through life.
Yeah, but the biggest thing is with drummers. I mean, it's your bass pedal. I mean, I was always would have like an extra spring or something like that, or extra parts for your bass pedal and I would check that stuff over, especially your bass pedal.
You have to do that because you beat on drums.
It's physical. It's pounding.
And that is, of course, if your bass pedal's gone, guess what? The band's gone. Because
no, that literally becomes a kick drum.
Exactly.
Right.
You try kicking that thing as fast as you need to, but that and the beater itself, but a lot of it really the bass drum. I mean, having some extra parts for your bass drum. I use 2 snare drums, so that's no issue with if I break a head, I can just use the other snare. But extra bass drum. Always patches on your bass drum head. Is a big thing. Most drummers will use that, but occasionally you'll see somebody and then they're starting to get that big indention in their bass drum, and the next thing you know, it's through the bass drum. But those are the types of things. Things stripping out. Hence the duct tape can help fix a cymbal stand. And that kind of jazz.
Extra microphones.
That's
microphones. I have extra mics,
mic holders, mic clips. I mean, there's a lot of little extra things that you can do, but also I think preparing, in scoping out the gig. I know talking to Mark. I mean, he'll, if a lot of these places aren't set up for bands, and some of them don't treat bands very good. It's like set your stuff up in the corner, and you find out there's no outlets over there, or the drum set's not going to fit, or what have you. So I think
that's what I tell them. I'm like, don't you know who I am? I'm a friend of Rick Lawhorn.
That's right.
And that's when they get straightened out. Like,
right.
Sorry, dude.
That's right. That's right. But I think we all talk about extra gear and stuff like that for not forgetting stuff, but I think it's kind of interesting how you guys prepare for gigs. I know Mark, I think you use like more of a pedal board, and don't you have 2 pedal boards for different things?
I got 3 or 4 functioning. I'm constantly building one, but I mean, like for different things for sure.
Yeah.
Because I won't take the same rig out. Like for Tyler Nichols, I'll take out a certain pedal board that, and I don't know if you use the same one that you use for Cactus Jack.
I do, but I do some modifications.
Yeah, it's just different stuff. But I've also, with a couple of them, I've got them set up so that like I can have this scene on my pedal board set up for this gig, and then not have to change anything, and then it's set up different for something else. But fans.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was playing at 2 Silos up in Manassas, we had an incredibly hot week at the beginning of June.
I remember that crazy.
And we had 8 or 9 fans on stage, and I brought mine, and there was more from the venue, but I put one of them on my amp.
Yeah.
And because that heat ain't no joke.
Yeah.
You know, it was 107 degrees on stage that day.
Right.
I don't remember dealing. I remember bringing fans. We just dealt with it.
Yeah, well, I'm still dealing with it.
We're still dealing.
It's like I remember playing that the club in Stafford's Palomino Club, and they had no air conditioning in no place.
Nope.
And so with those Par 64 cans, it was like 120 on
It
stage.
seriously did.
And then they would open up the door, so you had mosquitoes, 120 degree weather, hot as can be, soaking wet, and then fighting the mosquito bites. And I don't even think back then you had off. So it was a rough gig, man.
You want to be a rock and roll star.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome to the music business.
Yeah, right.
I know it.
What do you mean you want to get paid?
We need sponsorships from duct tape companies,
Right.
and off for the mosquitoes,
Advil.
and Advil,
Yeah.
and Motrin.
Motrin,
know. So I don't know why they don't give us sponsorships. Put us in our commercials. We can make this work.
Yes.
That's it. I think so.
Volume 11, sponsored by Advil.
And Gatorade.
Gatorade, proud sponsor of the Mark Dunn's Fall Tour, Northern Virginia.
That's right.
Rick Long.
Oh, in my 20s, a Gatorade was spelled Miller Lite.
Ooh, man. Oh, feel sorry for you.
No,
that's a rough one. Woo.
You know, when you're 20, it's 25, you're okay.
Yeah.
I didn't come here to drink Gatorade. Hand me that beer.
Yeah, I went from the wine coolers to Coors Light. That was my thing,
Yeah, pretty much. A wine cooler was a little bit more like a Gatorade, maybe.
Yeah, that's it.
Bartles and Jays. Whatever happened to that?
That's it. So how do you guys set up musically for, what songs you're going to play? Do you guys, especially you, Mark, because you do a lot of acoustic solo gigs.
Yeah.
So you kind of play the same thing, or you just
I do a
go
different
through
order of them. Like, I'll look at a crowd. That's a great question, actually.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes really the only time I'll actually write out a set list is when it's a show, not a gig. So like when I was opening for Rat or Zebra, or and we're doing an hour set, these are our songs.
Right.
Other than that, on a gig, a show is a full presentation. A gig is Tuesday night down the street.
Yeah, right.
But
thanks for that clarity.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Well, that's
I guess I've never played a show.
Yeah. So, but I'll just call them, because I think when you, I've always got my iPad that holds the set on it instead of carrying paper around these days. But I kind of look and try and vibe, especially with the acoustic stuff.
Yeah.
Because you look at what the cross section of age is.
Yeah, right.
If it leans a little older, I might open with a James Taylor song.
Yeah.
And if it leans somewhere in our age to Gen X, I might open up with a Radiohead song. Or, you know what I mean? It's just you try and whatever it is, whether with the band or my solo stuff, I try and find something that I think everybody will have heard to be the first song.
Right. We do the same thing.
And then you go from there.
Yeah.
Set lists are really more flexible than they used to be. I'm back in the day, you'd always have the set list. And Tyler runs down a set list, and he's put time into making those out, because they're all great classic rock songs, and he follows that pretty. And there's an order to that. You can put a show together with that.
Right.
But I also, with my band, if we do clusters of songs, so if I call one song, we're going to do the next three behind it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You know what I mean? So it can still wind up being a show.
Yeah.
We do a lot of the same kind of things. We'll get a general idea. We think this would probably be the best way to go with what we see in the crowd. Like, they'll probably like this. But, like a quarterback in football, you have to be ready to call an audible. Sometimes you're thinking, all right, we need to do this really fast song with this really crazy guitar solo, and then you're like, no, that's not really what they're into. You need to do maybe a slower song, and all of a sudden you got to sub something out, and try to make the show flow as good as
I called it an audible once.
Audible, yeah, you did. That's right. Yours was not the best audible in the history of the.
It was the best audible for three of us in the crowd that was dancing.
Right,
but it was not. It didn't work out very well, and that's a story we'll keep to ourselves. But
you know what?
Maybe one of those days we'll bring it out.
A lot of people though that they don't know this, but when you go to see shows at the amphitheater or bigger venues, those bands pretty much are following a specific sound.
Right. Oh, yeah,
right,
definitely.
right.
I'd say some, not necessarily some of the more jammy bands, but when you've got lighting cues and everything. And
Yeah, right.
When
That's a full
They got to
production.
run it
and
straight.
a lot of times those acts are running the entire show on Pro Tools. Whether they're having
Wow.
backing tracks or not,
Right.
it's on a click
Yeah.
the whole time.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
Except maybe, so they'll go 10 or 12 songs where it's counted in between, and the drummer's driving the bus. But yeah, it's pretty much the same show night in, night out, because they have to be in a certain, I know this because I had to do it. You had to be in a certain spot for a lighting
The
cue,
lighting, yeah.
on a song, and that's what I would call gig chops. Same thing, same spot on the stage, same, at a certain point in the night. It becomes very, it's the least amount of fun I've had playing music live.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's still not better than a day at the office.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Rock Talk.
I did.
I did.
Yeah, I
It was
always
fun.
enjoy
It was
it. It's always
great. It was
great hanging out with you guys.
informative.
It's
It was
fun.
good hanging out with these
Digging it.
guys. And if you like the show, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next week at the same time, same bat channel.
I'll be here.
We'll be here. He'll be here, and we'll probably be wearing black T-shirts. I can almost guarantee you that too.
Well, it'll be
This
Thursday.
goes to 11.
We'll be wearing black T-shirts, and I will have showered because I shower on Thursdays.
That's right. That's right. I'll wear something that's different, but it'll be a black T-shirt.
But I have 5 Volume 11 black T-shirts.
Well, I do too.
So that he's volume 55.
Yeah. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.
This has been an episode of Volume 11 Rock Talk Podcast, brought to you by Volume 11 Music.